everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies featuring the Magic the Gathering Cuisines of the Multiverse cookbook. The ooze-infused biscuits actually turned out to be really good last week. They were reminding me a little bit of the Cheddar Bay biscuits you'd used to get from Red Lobster back in the day. But that's enough rambling on that, as we are on to the entree this week, Jumpstart Energy Bowls. First up, let's tell the story. Aether is an energy that flows through the whole multiverse, but it manifests on Kaladesh in a unique way. It swirls in the atmosphere in beautiful arcing tendrils. More than just pretty to look at, the Aether is harnessed to power Kaladesh's many wondrous inventions. The denizens also seem to brim with energy, and that is reflected in their architecture and cuisine. Even in on her most chaotic days, Chandra took the time to refuel in the morning, even if she forgot to go to sleep the night before. She swore that eating something sweet and vibrant assured a successful start to the day. Well, we're definitely going to find out all about that. The ingredients are waiting for us at the table. We needed quite a few of them, so let's say we head over to the table to see what the ingredients are. When I have the camera back this far from the table, and I'm going to need a laser pointer to point everything out, you know we've got a big list of ingredients coming up, and we're going to be moving all over the place. Plus, you may be seeing here, we've got a rough split. I'm trying to go for a rough split here. Unfortunately, the ingredients aren't completely cooperating with me, and I don't think they're going to either. So, a three-part recipe we've got coming up here. So, to make the granola, we need 3 cups of old-fashioned rolled oats, a cup of walnuts that aren't really going to get chopped, half a cup of almonds and of cashews, along with another half cup of unsalted of honey. We also need half a cup of unsalted butter, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, a teaspoon of each of ground cinnamon and ginger, 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground cardamom, half a teaspoon of ground allspice, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. We also need a teaspoon of kosher salt, 2/3 of a cup of dried cherries, and 1/3 of a cup of golden raisins. In order to make the tea yogurt, we need half a cup of non-fat yogurt, a teaspoon of Assam tea, which I had to order off of Amazon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, cardamom, ground ginger, and cloves, 1.5 ounces of acai, which I'm going to use 2.5 tablespoons of acai powder to get to the same place, 3/4 of a cup of frozen mixed berries, and half a cup of frozen blackberries. And then we'll talk about the per serving stuff, but that's predominantly where the banana, which is going to get sliced, the fresh blackberries and the fresh raspberries are going to come into play. You may also hear the oven chirping in the background. I've got that preheating to 350 as we work. So, let's move into the kitchen next and start putting this recipe together. I also went ahead and prepared a baking sheet with parchment paper off shot. I prepared one of my biggest baking sheets, but I'm pretty sure you guys don't need my help with prepare a baking sheet with parchment paper. Anyway, coming back into the kitchen, First, we're going to combine the dry ingredients together. So we're going to take the rolled oats. We need 3 cups of these. 1, 2, and 3. The rolled oats can go back up at this point. You're over here. Then we need a cup of walnuts, which I will probably need to cut. Actually, I am going to need to cut those open. As I'm slowly making myself dizzy turning around and around here in the kitchen. Yeah. Pour those in. Got a gallon bag for these ready to go. Then a half cup each of almonds and cashews. We'll deal with the almonds first. Okay. And the cashews. Oh. I'll figure out where I want to put the nuts in a minute when I get done with them, which, by the way, if you have problems with any kind of nuts, you probably are going to want to skip this recipe. We'll give these a quick combination. All right. I think that looks pretty good there, so we'll put that to the side and we'll move over to the stove. Right as I was transitioning from the counter to the stove, the oven came up to temperature and the microwave is going off right there as I was working on loosening up the honey a little bit, because we'll be using that here in a second and I want the honey to be able to flow a little bit better. So now we're in a saucepan. We're going to start off, we're going to work on combining the butter, which I'm working on loosening the stick of butter right now. The honey, which again I just set in the microwave for 15 seconds to loosen up. Easy as you please. I'll grab a small spatula out for that. There we go. I was trying to find the spatula I wanted by feel, because I didn't want to open up too far and hit the tripod, which would potentially jar the camera. It's probably about as much of the honey as I'm going to get out. Try to do a little more. Okay. I think that'll do. So that's the butter, the honey, the brown sugar, which we need 3 tablespoons of that. The honey can go back up at this point. One, 2, 3. The brown sugar can go back up. I'm going to see if I can break up the, let's see if I can get some of the specks of sugar off, because I will need the 1 tablespoon measuring container again, or the 1 tablespoon measuring spoon. I'll need that for the acai later. Okay. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, which hopefully that will be enough cinnamon. We'll find out if it is or not. It's going to be close. Let's pour a little bit more in, but I think we'll be fine. There we are. And I think I have enough for the, I think I have enough when I need the cinnamon later. So that's the teaspoon of cinnamon. Also a teaspoon of ginger, which I've got that right here. Make that a little bit more manageable. I will need the teaspoon again, so I'm going to keep that close. Let's see, I think I need both the cinnamon and the ginger later. Yes, I do. So I'll move those back to the table. All right, 3/4 of a teaspoon of cardamom. One, two, three. I'm try to get as much of that off as possible because I will need the 1/4 teaspoon again. 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. So I've got that right here. A 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. All right, the allspice can go back up. Let's see. Cinnamon, cardamom, ginger, and cloves. The cloves actually need to go back to the table, but the allspice can go back up at this point. And a teaspoon of kosher salt. And that can go back up. What we're going to do with all of this is we're going to set this over medium heat, which let's make sure I've got the right burner, so that'll make that about a 6, since I will have eyes on it in here. We want to mix this up until the butter's melted and the sugar's dissolved. This is going to be a fairly important step, and something's going to need to happen immediately afterwards. We are going to watch this in real time. I'll bring the oat mixture over a little bit closer, even though I'm not quite ready for it yet, for obvious reasons. I'm just making sure I'm pretty sure I got the right burner heated up. So this is just going to let me keep an eye on it, and I'm already getting a floury whiff of this whole thing. Try to start working the butter apart a little bit. Just maybe make it a little bit easier to melt. That actually does seem to be melting already, but I'm going to go grab my phone just so actually, never mind, it's already right here. Even while I'm recording, I usually try to keep that close by, and we already, okay. So it looks like I'm going to need to download that, an update on one of the PDF adventures that I ordered from Obvious Mimic, which might be something else I'm looking to get to the channel at some point. Actually, the frozen fruit, now that I'm looking at it, no, that's probably fine to stay out. Because that, especially those frozen blackberries, those were pretty frozen when I got them from the grocery store. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I am going to put those back in the freezer. Because we're going to have a lot of time coming up on... We're going to have a lot of time coming up where I can pull those out to defrost just a little bit. Okay. Looks like the butter in here is just about melted. Ooh. Trying not to splash too much of this hot liquid out. Okay. The butter seems like it's mostly melted, and the sugar seems like it's dissolved at this point. So now we're going to bring the oat mixture back into shot. I think we can shut the burner off at this point. And I think boiling is probably a bad thing. So we're going to move back over to the countertop. I'm going to grab I'm probably going to be needing the baking sheet here pretty soon as well. So I'm going to grab a spatula. Yep. Okay, so now we want to pour the butter mixture into the oat mixture. So I'm going to grab this spoon out. And then we're going to pour this in with the oat mixture very carefully. Right, I've also got a spatula to scrape a little bit more of this out. Then we're going to mix it all together until it's well combined. Actually, I'm going to use a second spatula just to scrape the sides of the bowl, just so I can get everything in there. Okay, that seems like it's pretty well combined. I'm starting to get resistance on my arm as I'm mixing all of that up. So now we need the... Actually, wait a second. Something's... Oh. Okay, never mind. So now it looks like we're all set here with we're all set with the first part of the granola. So now we can bring the baking sheet that we prepared earlier in shot. Now we're going to take the oat mixture and transfer it over to the baking sheet that we prepared earlier. I do have my scraper off shot, which I will be calling for here in probably about 2 seconds. 1, 2, yep. But I don't like trying to, well, I was going to say I don't like scraping down, but I might not have a choice in the matter. Yeah, I don't think I have a choice in the matter here. Okay, then we're going to spread that out in a thin layer. Which I know with the baking sheet, your thin and my thin depending on the baking sheet you have, your thin and my thin are probably going to be two very different thins. So just use your best judgment on that. All right. That should work. So now here's what we're going to do. This is going to require precision timing in the oven. So now that we're all set there, I'm going to put this in the oven to bake for 10 minutes. Then after the 10 minutes, I'm going to stir it up and start it again. Basically, we're going to do this loop 3 times, where I'm going to bake it for 10 minutes, then stir and bake for another 10, then I'm going to stir and bake for another 10 again. After it's out of the oven, I'm going to let it cool for about 45 minutes. So we'll come back we'll come back in a little more than an hour, but let's put the granola in the oven. We'll start our first timer for 10 minutes. And like I said, I'm not going to come in every single time. So we'll come back in a little more than an hour after that's all done. The granola actually had a little bit of extra time to cool as I was talking with my mom. She was very glad that I didn't try to make the trip out there today. So what we're going to do now that the granola's had time to cool and hopefully not solidify on me, is we're going to move it into an airtight container, which this is a container I normally use for chicken salad during the week. So we will pour... This is not going to work well. Start working on moving that into this airtight bowl. So I'll move some chunks over. Hopefully when I start to mix it up a little bit, that'll also help break it up a bit more. Right now I can probably grab it up by the parchment paper, which was originally how I was going to try to pour it, and now this should work a lot better. There we go. That's more what I had in mind. The parchment paper can hit the bin. My hands are going to get a quick wash. All right. Now we're going to add in the dried fruit. We want 2/3 of a cup of our dried cherries. One and two. That can get bagged up. Then we need 1/3 of a cup of golden raisins, which I've got right here. That can go in the bag as well. Once I remembered that I put the bags over on the table, that would be moderately helpful. And now we're going to mix the cherries and the raisins in, and hopefully work on breaking the hopefully work on breaking the granola up a little bit more. I've still got clumps of it in here, but I don't think there's much I'm going to be able to do about that. All right. I think that's probably about as broken up as that's going to get. So that can get out of my way. I'll put a lid on that, and then this can be stored. This can be stored at room temperature for 10 days. That should be enough granola for about 10 portions. We'll find out what I think, if I think enough of it to keep it, though. But now we need the blender back, and we need the blender in shot so we can work on the tea yogurt. Now we're going to start putting everything together for the tea yogurt. So first up, we're going to take half a cup of plain yogurt. Let's see. I'm going to need. Oh no, I'm not. I was going to say I'm going to need a pair of scissors, but no, I'm not. There was a spot here where everything opened up. I'm going to give that yogurt a quick mix up, though. Okay. Since I don't like how that's looking. Right. Better. So now we want half a cup of that. That's going to be a little bit more than half a cup, but as I imagine this is our lubricant in the blender, it's probably not going to be a huge deal to have a little bit of a heaping half a cup. So that can go there. The yogurt can go back in the fridge. And hopefully this frog in my throat will go away. Then we want a teaspoon of the Assam tea. I ordered this and the acai from Amazon this morning. I didn't even have time to do an unboxing on them because I knew I was going to be using them right away for Mystical Munchies. And what the? Oh, I must have had a quarter cup that I was going to use before I remembered I had another set with a half cup. So I need 1 teaspoon of the Assam tea. Not sure what I think of the smell of the tea, but we'll find out how everything tastes when we get to the taste test, which we're truthfully not that far away from. Alright, so that's the tea in. Now we need a teaspoon each of cardamom, cloves, cinnamon, and ginger. What did I do with the... Okay, quarter teaspoon. So basically we need half of a quarter to get to an 1/8 teaspoon. This is going to be a little challenging, but I think we can manage. Let's see. Okay. The cinnamon, once I find the lid, can go back up. Along with the new cinnamon that I turned out to barely not need. Cardamom. Ginger, the cloves, and then I don't need that, so I can go over toward the dishes. And the last thing we need is actually strike that. Oh, I know why I had the quarter cup out. Herpa-derpa, now I can't use that container because I put it on the measuring cup with the honey because I'm brilliant. That's right. Silly me as usual. Next up we need the 1.5 ounces of acai. As I'm using powder and I had to make a conversion, this is going to turn out to be 2.5 tablespoons of acai. Weird looking powder too. That's what the acai powder looks like. So we've got our 1.5 tablespoons. And going to 2.5 tablespoons. Those can go toward the dishes. And now we want the berries. We want that to not drop. And we've got we want 3/4 of a cup of frozen mixed berries. One, 2, 3, and then it's going to be another 1/2 cup of frozen blackberries. Which I've got the frozen blackberries right here. So 1 and 2. All right, that can go toward the dishes. And now we want to blend this until it's smooth. And a fair warning, if you're wearing headphones, you probably won't want to be, as I'm using the blender here, but we are going to watch this blend in real time. Because we want to blend this until it's smooth. And it's probably not going to cooperate with me right away. It's not wanting to cooperate with me. That's fun. It's moving slowly. I'm not sticking my hands in the blender because that's an easy way to get a finger chopped off. It's all locked in place. Everything looks good. There we go. What the? Okay, what I am going to do here is I'm going to see if I can scrape the sides. Damn it. That fell in. That was not what I wanted to have happen at all. I'm going to see if I can scrape down the sides and make this smooth out a lot more. Because that is not smoothing out the way I want it to. That is not remotely what I was looking for at all. Trying to be very careful with this. I'm gonna see if I need to break this up a little bit more. I'm wondering if using the acai powder instead of going out and getting live acai might be causing some problems. It's supposed to look look a lot more liquid than this. So this part isn't turning out at all. Just seeing if I can break this up a little bit. I think I was definitely expecting this to come out more liquidy than it is, just based on what I see in the cookbook for the picture. I'm expecting this to be a lot more liquidy than this. This isn't blending the way I had in mind. And I'm wondering if this is maybe a product of using, like I said, of using the acai powder instead of, this is a product of using the acai powder, because look at this, let me see if I can bring it down to demonstrate, to show you what I'm looking at, but it is very, especially, well actually pretty much throughout this whole thing, but especially in this part right here, it's coming through very solid. Well, it's actually turning out decently smooth, but I think I was expecting, like I said, I think I was expecting it to be a little more liquidy than it's coming out. Based on the picture, we'll do another pass in the blender, but once I get through this pass in the blender, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about in terms of expecting this to be a little bit smoother than it's turning out. Yeah, I think that's probably about as smooth as it's going to get, but just to show you guys what I'm expecting, here's the picture that I've got of what the tea yogurt I think is supposed to look like. So I'm not sure what's going on here. It might be a case that maybe my blender isn't strong enough. Maybe this is a problem because I used acai powder instead of real acai. The problem is I don't know where in the world I can get acai locally to be able to use it. But I think this is the best we're going to get. So now let's actually start to put this together. So we need everything back in shot. Given the problems I was having with the blender and getting the tea yogurt to blend, I'm going to do something I don't usually do on Mystical Munchies. I'm going to pull 2 portions of the granola out for the taste test. So we're going to do one as written in the recipe, and the other one is going to be just the granola. So I'm going to portion off the granola first. So we'll put a portion in there. And then we'll put another one in the smaller bowl that's going to be just the granola. Okay. Then we're going to prepare the other bowl Then we're going to prepare the other one as written. So this one's going to be this bowl is going to be just granola. This one's going to have everything else in it. So this is going to have granola, a little bit of the yogurt, I'm also not liking how much of that is a clump. And again, that might be a product of using the acai powder instead of like fresh acai. But again, when I was looking that up, I had no idea where I was going to get a hold of it. Then we're going to top it with another portion of granola. Without jarring the camera. The fresh fruit, which I went ahead and sliced up some bananas. Some raspberries. So I've got those right here. And the fresh blackberries. And we're going to move over to my desk for the taste tests. I did have 2 portions of the granola portioned off, but I can probably do this in just one bowl. So basically we're going to do 2 taste tests. We're going to do one with just the granola, and I want to do one with the tea yogurt in it as well. So let's give this a taste and see what I think. Looks like we can get just granola out here. Well, I think we're going to get both in here anyway. So let me give this a taste and see what I think. I'm trying to see if I can get to a little bit of just granola, maybe with a little bit of the tea yogurt on here, which this will do nicely for. It's got a little bit of a floury taste, but given the combination of spices I used in here, that's not altogether unexpected. I don't think I'm happy with how the tea yogurt turned out, and I don't know if that was a product of using powder instead of actual acai fruit, or if that's just how acai is normally going to be. The granola itself was actually pretty good. I think if I were to leave the tea yogurt out and just put like some fresh fruit on here, I'd probably be a lot happier with that. Or maybe if I'm actually able to find acai and make it properly, so the tea yogurt theoretically turns out a bit smoother, that would probably work better as well. But that's all food for thought, and that's another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. We've actually got 2 different episodes of Mystical Munchies coming up. Next week, we'll be into the dessert in this cookbook, Heart and Soul Babka. However, early next week, as I will be on the other side of the state for Christmas, we will be having a special Christmas episode of Mystical Munchies as we will be revisiting the Fallout Official Vault Dwellers cookbook for a special Christmas entree as we make the Captain's Feast, aka roast prime rib. That's what's coming up on the channel later this afternoon. It was originally scheduled for 12:30, but I think I'm going to have to push that back. We are going to be doing a stream of 5 parsecs from home, and hopefully later tonight we'll have another stream of some kind. I don't know what that's going to be yet. As for tomorrow, there will be no morning video tomorrow, as I will be traveling to the aforementioned destination for Christmas. Tomorrow afternoon, though, we will get together for a stream of some kind. Probably going to be rolling up some RPG characters. It's something I need to do, but it's also going to serve as a technical test for while I'm out there. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.